Alright, people, midweek report time. So, let's talk about some of the news that's been floating around. It's been doing the numbers and stuff like that. Now, this first subject kind of ties into the second subject. So, the rematch between Eubank Jr. and Liam Smith postponed. Now, the date I was seeing, I'll see if I can get it here. Yeah, July the 1st has been named as the rescheduled date for the rematch. So, obviously, this fight was meant to happen on June the 17th. Apparently, Liam Smith suffered an injury in training. It's not divulging where it is or what it was, but I would imagine it. Like, for me, I'm just kind of like, obviously, it's an injury, but only move it a fortnight. Like, you're essentially talking about moving that fight a fortnight forward. It seems very short, right? Just like, you know when someone has an injury, right? And a lot of fighters will go into a fight with injuries. That's very common. No fighter will really go through a camp and not be 100%, I should say. A lot of fighters do tend to go into camp or go into fights with injuries. Maybe niggling ones, not massive ones. And the reason why they won't tell anybody is because they don't want to let their opponent know. Now, if you're Liam Smith and you're saying, right, I've suffered an injury, so we're going to move the fight back a couple of weeks, that's fine. But 2 weeks, look, it could be something that he needs 2 weeks to shake off, I don't know, but I'm just wondering how bad is it if it's only going to be moved a fortnight back. Nevertheless, the fight is not binned. It's just going to happen in July as opposed to happen in June. Fight's obviously going to take place in Manchester, and obviously the question is what happens for both guys following on from this fight? Because for me, Liam Smith, potentially there could be, you hear a few little rumours over, more than rumours, right? Potentially Triple G could be eyeing the winner or someone like that. So Liam Smith wins, who knows? If Eubank Jr. wins again, who knows? But if he loses, especially if Eubank loses, if Eubank loses this, where does he go? And my thinking would be, the next subject, the next story, Joe Saunders has declared he's coming back to the ring this year. And I'm thinking, for either guy, win or lose, Joe Saunders has to be an option. More so for Eubank Jr. because there's needle there, because there's beef there, because both guys have fought in the past and it was a close fight first time around. So for me, it would make more sense, win or lose, for Eubank to target the Joe Saunders fight. And to be honest, even if he wins, where is he? Like, what is he going to do? Is he going to try and get the Conor Benn fight over the line again? We'll see. I don't even know if that's a viable option. God knows what situation Conor Benn could be in 6 months' time. We just don't know with the UCAD situation. But with Eubank, win or lose, you would imagine Joe Saunders. If Eubank is not going to win a world title, I don't think anyway. I just don't see it. Certainly not at 168. At 160, you've Lara Garcia, and Lara's seen better days as is Garcia, but even then I still think they probably beat Eubank, who's just, Eubank is great athletically, but that's it, and Joe Saunders, it would make money. It wouldn't make as much money as it would have if Joe had a few fights last year and Eubank hadn't taken an L against Liam Smith. But for me, it just seems like the logical fight for both guys, because at the end of the day, what the hell is Joe Saunders going to do? Joe Saunders has been out of the ring for 2 years. He's looked grotesquely overweight. I seen someone say, well, Tyson Fury can lose a lot of weight. Tyson Fury doesn't have to make weight. Tyson Fury, although, he would have drained himself down, and you've certainly seen that in the early part of his comeback, he's not having to go and artificially dehydrate himself at the same time. So with Fury, he could say he's weak at 260 pounds, thereabouts. And you could say, yeah, fine, fair enough, he probably is, put a little bit of weight on, and then he's good to go. Joe Saunders doesn't have that luxury. So Joe Saunders comes back and he says, right, I'm going to fight at 168 because I get eaten alive at 175 pounds. And even then, he was never the big super middleweight. If he feels weak at 168, well, there's not an awful lot he can do. He can move up to 175 and get annihilated by Bivol or Beterbiev, but it ain't a lot he can do at 168 if he's feeling drained. That's tough, you know what. So Saunders coming back, again, what is he going to do? Because at 168, he's never going to beat Canelo. He's probably put on too much weight over the last few years. He's not made 160 pounds since... Do you want to know something that is actually crazy? It's actually crazy when you think about it, right? Time flies, and this is a crazy little bit of trivia. Because you know me, I'm good with kind of things that mean nothing. But the last time Joe Saunders fought at middleweight, wait for this, was when he fought David Lemieux. His best fight at middleweight was his last fight at middleweight. Now, that's over 5 years ago. It'll be 6 years come December this year. That's the last time he fought at 160 pounds, because he didn't fight in 2018 until December, and he was 180 odd pounds when he fought. God Almighty, who did he fight? Was it Lengamach? No, he fought. Oh, I don't remember who he fought, but he fought on the undercard of Warrington versus Frampton in I think it was a 6 or an 8 rounder just to take over. Then he fought that Isufi guy at 168 pounds. So he never went down to 160 after it. So Billy Joe Saunders, his last fight at 160 at middleweight was his best fight at 160, his best performance, I should say, and it was nearly 6 years ago. So he ain't gonna make middleweight anytime soon. So super middle is the only thing he can do, and I don't see him having much success at that weight, truth be told. I think he's going to look a shell of himself following on from the weight cuts, from all the weight he's gained over the last couple of years, the inactivity, etc. He's not getting any younger. He's got to be in his early 30s now, and he's never lived the cleanest life. He's always ballooned up in between fights. He's been doing that his whole career. So, and he doesn't even have a promoter as far as I'm aware. I know Eddie Hearn was saying last year, I think it was, that he was looking at offers for Billy Joe, or maybe making an offer to Billy Joe, but Billy Joe was kind of saying he wanted more. So who is he going to go with? Is he going to go with Boxer? And I'll talk about Boxer and Ben Shalom later in this video, but I'm not really going to touch on much on Boxer and Ben Shalom in this particular video. I might do a separate one for tomorrow morning or this evening as well, depending on just time wise and stuff like that when midweek report gets out, because there's a lot of things about Boxer I want to get off my chest. I want to have a bit of a rant about Boxer and the absolute nonsense going on over there. But Billy Joe Saunders saying he's coming back to the ring this year, and Eubank versus Smith, July the 1st, pencil in the date. Mike Coppinger is reporting that Joyce has now activated his rematch clause for the Zhang fight. His manager, Adam Morelli, has confirmed this. This means that Joyce would have to agree. Now, here's the interesting thing. He would have to agree to step aside if Tyson Fury versus Zhang happens next. So, Joyce has basically said, right, I want to fight Zhang again. I have the rematch clause. Frank Warren, smart, had options on Zhang, so he's promoting Zhang as well. So he's able to work with Zhang, get him a Fury fight or get him a Joyce fight. So Joyce has said, I want to fight Zhang again. However, if Tyson Fury gets the fight, Joyce is going to have to wait. Now, with step aside, as far as I'm aware, you only get the step aside if you are a, say, mandatory and there's a unification happening. You know, Callum Smith got a lot of step aside money when he was Badu Jack's mandatory down at 168 pounds. You may remember Badu Jack was having a couple of voluntaries. Callum Smith was happy to wait and say, give me that free money. You know, it's happened. You know, there was talk of Joshua at one point when Fury and Usyk were having the negotiations early last year, which never went anywhere. But there was talk of him stepping aside, and I think he was even saying for the right amount he would. So when you're talking about mandatories and stuff like that, yes, it is something that comes in. But when it's a non-title fight, well, it's a WBO interim for a mandatory position. But I wouldn't imagine, maybe Frank Warren would just chuck him a bone and say, here's a couple of $100,000, now leave us alone, I'll get you an interim fight. If Joyce was to have an interim fight, who would you have it against? You know, Joyce, after that performance against Zhang, a lot of things need to change, and I don't think they will, to be 100% honest. But he'd need a big confidence builder following on from that fight. And again, I would be, you know, let's say, gee, you really don't like Dillian Whyte. It's not that I don't like Dillian Whyte. I don't know him from Billy the Jack. I don't care. But I just see him as a name who realistically is there for the taking. So if Joshua is looking for a rehabilitation fight and he can get one in the summer, there's Dillian Whyte. If Joyce is looking for a rehabilitation fight and he wants one in the summer, there's Dillian Whyte. If I was Bob Arum, seriously people, if I was Bob Arum, right, and I really had faith, which I think he does, because I certainly do, in Jared Anderson, I'd be saying, do you know what, right, I'm going to take a loss, I'm going to take a big L, but I'm going to offer Dillian Whyte a couple of mil. Seriously, I'd be doing it. I'd be offering a couple of mil to fight Big Baby Anderson. Anderson would piece Dillian Whyte up, in my opinion. And that is a win. That could get people talking. We're already talking about him, but could get the wider public talk about him. Because you'd have Dillian Whyte still known in the UK. Anderson, you know, you'd have people in the US know of Dillian Whyte. Certainly more so from all the college he's done with Deontay Wilder and obviously the Tyson Fury fight. It would get Jared Anderson's name out there. So if I was Bob Arum, I'd be saying, get the checkbook out, there you go, because I have faith in this kid. in terms of Joe Joyce, if Zhilei Zhang doesn't fight Tyson Fury, obviously he goes straight into a rematch. And I mean, what can Joe Joyce do differently, really? He could the way Joyce fought Zhilei Zhang was just so strange, because I said it once and I'll say it again at the time. It was as if Joe Joyce went in there expecting to fight an orthodox fighter, because he had no answer for the left hand whatsoever. It was really bizarre. It's like, you do realise this guy is a southpaw, so he's gonna lead with the right and his backhand's gonna be the left, and Joe Joyce was just completely oblivious to that. So I wondered myself, I was like, did he even realise that he's actually fighting a southpaw? I mean, did that actually cross his mind that, hang on a minute, I'm in there with a southpaw, I need to be looking the other way as opposed to this way? Jamel Charlo has called out Canelo Alvarez after his recent performance against John Ryder. He says, "Eff it, that BIT, you know the rest, can't beat me, that poopy last performance. Me with that poopy last performance." Those are the words of Jamel Charlo. Now, I think it's funny that this is a guy who's campaigned solely at 154 pounds, has never fought outside of that weight division, hasn't fought in, nearest makes no difference, round about close to a year or so, was meant to fight Tim Tszyu, pulled out with a hand injury, which I still believe he still has, or at least is still on the recovery mend from the hand injury, and is now calling out an undisputed champion in a weight division 2 divisions above him. Yeah, let's see how that goes for you. As for his brother, the guy who's still WBC middleweight champion, despite the fact he hasn't fought in, amazingly, 2 years, and is still champion, haven't had any interim title fights or anything like that, is still champion, and we're hearing absolutely zilch from him. They're still calling for Canelo, despite the fact they're doing absolutely nothing. Well, they are sure they should get the Canelo fight. Yeah, look, Charlo can say whatever he wants. To be honest with you, both Charlos, even if Canelo is on the decline, I would still favour him heavily to beat the crap out of both of them. I mean, this is a guy, if he wants to go shooting, he can say, right, well, Canelo didn't look particularly good. You lost to Tony Harrison. Yeah, you avenged it. You weren't doing great in the rematch until you got the knockout. And even then, look what Harrison's done. He's lost, he had a draw and a loss to Tim Tszyu. Got battered by Tim Tszyu, and the guy we're waiting for you to fight. Tim Tszyu fighting your leftovers while we're waiting for you to get back in the ring. Are you calling out Canelo Alvarez, thinking that for some reason you have the prestige? Yeah, 154 pound champion, well done, clap, clap. But thinking you can just go in there and just say, yep, I'm 154 pound, but I'm going to go to 168 or 175 to fight Alvarez and I'm going to easily win. Yeah, that ain't going to work, mate. Sorry to burst the bubble. Now here we go. Now this bit right here. Ben Shalom and Boxer have now pulled Fraser Clark out of the purse bids for his ordered British heavyweight title fight against Fabio Wadley. That is from Eddie Hearn. Fraser Clark, just in case you're wondering, does have a fight against Harry Armstrong, although it probably is short for Harry. I mean, Prince Harry's real name is Henry. So, Harry Armstrong, 5-1-1 on the undercard of Adam Azim on June 10th at the York Hall. Fabio Wadley has reacted to him being pulled out of the purse bids by branding this as embarrassing. And it is embarrassing. What is the deal with boxer Ben Shalom and Fraser Clark? Fraser Clark, I don't rate Fraser Clark too highly. I think his ceiling is very low. But his ceiling is higher than fighting guys who are 5-1-1. Fraser Clark in the ring has looked visibly annoyed with the matchmaking that's been put from him by Boxer, Ben Shalom and Sky. I'm going to say maybe more so Boxer and Ben Shalom, because I think Sky, to their credit, they've learned enough over the years on fighters who to match stuff with and stuff like that. And I don't even think they have much of a say in the matchmaking, to be honest with you, unless it's the highest of the high level. I think when it's the lowest of the low, it's kind of whoever you want. Boxer and Ben Shalom's matchmaking has been absolutely disgraceful for some of these guys. They are literally getting the worst of the worst. They're getting guys who are undefeated and they're thinking, oh, look at this, we're selling it as an undefeated guy on paper. And they fought, Blind Man Bob 5 times in a row, 5 first round knockouts, but they can't throw a punch. And they're putting him in there with Olympians. And the Olympians are obviously throwing one punch, knocking them out, and boom, it's over. They're not getting any exposure. We're not seeing any of their work. We're not seeing anything. And here's a chance now where you have Fraser Clark. I don't rate him that highly, right? Him against Wadley could go either way, truth be told, but I'd like to see it. There's your chance to go ahead with the purse bid. You don't. Explain why. What is Fraser Clark going to do realistically that's going to be any better than going down the road of fighting the Fabio Wadley? Because let's just say he beats him. Well, there you go. You've got a British, I think it's for the British heavyweight title. Listen, I'm pretty sure it is, not the English. Yeah, for the British heavyweight title. I thought it was the English for a sec. Yeah, there you go. You've beaten one of Eddie Hearn's guys. You've beaten Fabio Wadley. And then you can go from strength to strength. You know, better that than to put him in there against someone who nobody knows, no one's going to hear from before or after. He's going to clearly walk through, and then what, we're waiting around for what, the Riddell Booker fight? We're waiting around for the Kamil Sokolowski rematch? What are they doing over there at Sky? And this is why I keep saying, like, something is amiss over there, right? Because with Eddie Hearn, when he started out at Sky, he was doing prize fighter, which is what Ben Shalom started doing on the smaller hall shows with Boxer. It's Boxer, prize fighter. They're basically the same thing. You had 3-minute rounds, quarterfinal, semi-final, final, a prize fund for the winner. That's essentially what Eddie Hearn primarily was starting out doing in the early days of Sky. He stopped doing them in 2015, was the last prize fighter show he did in that format. That's what Ben Shalom started out doing. He had a few on BT Sport. Then it goes quiet. Obviously, boxing's put a bit on the DL for reasons. And then we're told by Frank Warren, of all people, that Ben Shalom is going to be the new promoter on Sky. And I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be very, very small. I think I even said in a few videos, it's going to be like the old Friday Fight Night days with Frank Maloney, Mick Hennessy, Dave Colwell. Barry Hearn actually was doing a few of them, etc. Where they're not selling them as good cards. They're selling them as kind of domestic dust-ups, you know, the grassroots, but glorified, right? But no, we're hearing that Ben Shalom is signing all these fighters, he's going to have these budgets, etc. And he's not delivering anything. Yes, he got the Kell Brook and Mir Khan fight. Well, that fight has been not relevant since, 2016, realistically, 2016, 2017. We saw Eubank versus Smith, which was a good fight, I'll give him that. But in terms of the Sky cards, they've been abysmal. In terms of the on-air talent, I mean, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, it's getting close to rival in the zone. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting close to rival in the zone for worst on-air talent, you know, in boxing. You know, it's not quite there yet, but I didn't think anyone could get close to it. But Sky are really, they're trying it. They're really pushing it. They're trying to get there. You know, all we need is a Tony Bellew type character and we're there. But it's been abysmal. It's been absolutely shocking. And the fact of the matter is, you have fighters like Jack Cattrall who are signing for Boxer and they're leaving before they've even made their debut. You see people like Joseph Parker have gone elsewhere. That crowd in Melbourne. Who else? Oh, there's other people as well, you know. They're getting fighters for very short. I know that girl who Eddie Hearn just signed had one fight with Boxer and see you later. Whatever her name was. And you're seeing it with other fighters. You know, I'm not buying that he's not signing these into long-term deals and stuff like that. I'm thinking that they're getting there. They're seeing, oh my God, what the writing's on the wall right here. Let's get out of here. Let's jump ship. You know, that's all I can say to me, because it just seems to me as though Ben Shalom Boxer is just all over the place. You know, the whole Adam Smith thing, you know, we still don't know what is up with him. I don't really care if Adam Smith never comes back, to be honest with you. I don't like the guy. But it's just strange to me that he was there this whole time and then all of a sudden, it's gone. So the whole Boxer Ben Shalom thing, that's a decent fight, to be fair. I'd rather see Fabio Wadley versus that other guy, what's his name? Adelaide. But Fraser Clark is still a decent fight. Look, what are they going to do with him? Like the Harry Armstrongs of the world? Oh, wow. The world 5-1-1 beater. Anyway, bit of a rant over. Rolando Rolly Romero, I should say, versus Ishmael Barroso this Saturday is now for the WBA 140-pound title. Former champion Alberto Puella has been made champion in recess. WBA yet to make a final decision after his positive drug test for clomiphene. Those damn eggs. Those pesky eggs. Clomiphene. Or maybe he just really, really wants a baby and someone hasn't told him the way biology works. Or maybe it's those pesky eggs again, you know. A good omelette, 4 or 5 eggs, bit of chicken, bit of chorizo. There you go. Can we really have that much of a gripe with Alberto Puello? Can we? Let's see. Anyway, Rolly Romero versus Ishmael Barroso this Saturday. Barroso, you may remember, he fought Anthony Crolla several years ago. He fought him on May the 6th or the 7th, 2016. It was the same day Canelo fought Amir Khan. And he fought him at the MEN, Manchester Arena. One of the few times Joe Gallagher's, what would you call it, game plan of let the opponent play Homer Simpson. Play Homer Simpson when he became a boxer. Let the opponent hit you with everything, put the kitchen sink, let him get tired, and then nudge him. And that's pretty much what Crolla did. And it worked that time. Didn't work the other 99 times, but it worked that time. That was Barroso. And he's had a few L's since then. So I imagine this is going to be a fairly run-of-the-mill performance for Rolly Romero. And to be honest with you, O'Hara Davis is the mandatory, but they're definitely 100% going to try and do a tank rematch at 140 for that title. 100%. They're going to try and get Tank a legit title at that weight. 100%. 100%, that's what they're going to do. So that is the fights on this weekend. Let's look at some boxing scene. Boesie to Yard. While the titles are tied up, let's do something. Yes, Joshua Boesie and Anthony Yard. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. Now, I have heard rumours that Joe Smith Jr. is the reported opponent they're trying to get for Anthony Yard, which is a good opponent, don't get me wrong. He's been out of the ring now nearly a year, but he's still a former world champion, losing his last fight to Artur Beterbiev, of course, in more clinical fashion than Yard did, it has to be said. Boesie, based upon that performance the weekend over that Powell Stefan guy, he didn't set the world alight. I really think if Yard had been in there against that Powell Stefan guy, he would have beaten him in a couple of rounds, as would have Callum Smith. You might have even argued Dan Aziz would have done the same thing. Joshua Boesie really underperformed that time. Against Anthony Yard, he would need to be very much firing on all cylinders. That's what I will say, if he does. I'd love to see it. We've talked about that fight for years. I've gone back and forth in my head a few times over who I think will win. There was a time I was very sure Boesie would win. I still probably would maybe lean slightly towards Boesie. Slightly. But it's a very tricky fight. It's a great fight. I hope we can see it. I really, really do. Carfroch, I think Canelo is past his best. Bivol will win the rematch. Yeah, I'd be picking Bivol myself, truth be told, but you never know with these scorecards what way they can go. You never, ever know what way they can go. So with these scorecards with Canelo fights, Adrian the Problem Broner, he wants to become undisputed champion at 140 pounds. Really? Well, I mean, I think an ice cream has a better chance surviving a day in hell than that, but you never know. Strange things have happened. Let's see what else there is. I'm looking at the old boxing scene here, and there's not an awful lot. Oh, really? Look at this. Huey Fury gunning for Joshua Wilder. I'm going to make a statement against who? Do you mind me asking? Let's see if there's any names here. Let's see. I'm not seeing any fights lined up. None. Okay. So you're going to make a statement against whom, might I ask? I think that's pretty much it. I'm not really seeing much else. I think everything else I've already kind of covered. So I'm going to leave you there, people. I hope this has gone over the 20-minute mark. I like getting midweek report over the 20-minute mark. Oh, actually, there was a few things I seen in the wake of Fabio Wadley and the obviously the purse bid, I should say, between him and Fraser Clark falling by the wayside. Dave Allen left a cryptic kind of message, almost hinting that he'd be interested in a fight against Fabio Wadley. I had heard rumours. Now again, they are rumours, and God forbid these rumours turn out to be true, but I have actually heard that a fight that's being talked about is, wait for this now, Dave Allen versus Derek Chisora. I mean, whoa, that's a head scratcher right there. Dave Allen, Derek Chisora. I don't understand the concept of this return for Dave Allen. I don't understand why Chisora doesn't just call it a day either, because he's not sounding the best lately, and I don't want to see him, he's got a young family. I don't want to see him end up talking, badly slurred, in years to come, because a lot of fighters who've made millions, but now their speech is not the best. I'm sure they trade probably all that money back to be able to speak normally and have their full faculties. So for me, I'd like to see Chisora just say, see you later. Whereas Dave Allen, again, he's taken some heavy shellackings in the gym and in the ring. Obviously, the Tony Yoka fight, for me, is the worst. People like to bring up the David Price beating that he took, and it was a terrible beating he took against Price. But I think that Tony Yoka loss was the worst. And judging by how Yoka has looked subsequently then, he was probably juiced up to the gills. Probably, because I think that was where he missed those tests. And Yoka, Dave Allen has a very good chin. Dave Allen even said after the fight, he actually said it a few times, that Yoka was the hardest puncher he's ever been in the ring with. Now bear this in mind, right? Tony Yoka can't keep guys like Takam off, but he was able to really hurt Dave Allen. I think that kind of says it all, really, when you think about it. But that was a Hail Mary beating he took. He's only 31, he's got a young family. I would rather not see Dave Allen in the ring again, personally. But he's insisting on fighting, and he wants one last payday, a crack at domestic level. I don't know. But for me, your health is your wealth at the end of the day. And I just don't, Dave Allen, I think he said at the start of 2020 he was offered a lot of money. At the very start of 2020 he was offered a lot of money. I think 300 grand or thereabouts, something like that, to fight Dubois, which he turned down. And I think at that stage the penny was dropping. Obviously the penny has been picked back up again, because he's probably not going to make that much money fighting a guy like Wadley, or maybe he would make a bit more money fighting someone like Chisora, but I just don't think he needs to. If he's financially secure, why should he risk his health? He's been doing managing, he's been doing a bit of boxing training. I think that's a better road to go down, because at least that way your health stays intact and you can prolong that career. He's in his early 30s. He could be doing that in 20, 30 years' time. Boxing, you only have a finite window to make the money. I think he's made as much money as he can. Now you're going to get into the kind of, you're going to hurt yourself kind of territory, which I don't think I want. Well, I personally don't want to see it, but I don't think he wants it deep down either, but he's insisting on carrying on. I don't know why. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Hope you liked the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. For now, lads and lassies, I'll talk to you. Peace.